The bathroom door was locked again. I stood there, feeling foolish, holding her vitamin drink in one hand and gripping the last shred of my patience in the other. I knocked twice. "Just a minute," she called out, her voice devoid of emotion, like she wasn't hiding from me yet again. I glanced at the digital clock on the oven. 7:12 a.m. According to the document she emailed me last Sunday, yes, emailed me while sitting 10 feet away on the couch, I was allowed to initiate a morning gesture no later than 7:15. After that, she claimed it disrupted her emotional focus window. The document was titled Emotional Access Agreement Q4. It was real. Bullet points, timestamps, disclaimers. I double-checked. Touch was permitted 3 times a week, but only if earned. The word earned was bolded and underlined. Her name is Daphne. She started therapy, journaling, cold plunges, and following some guy named Clay on Instagram who talks about energy boundaries and earning intimacy through masculine discipline. Me? I work for a hardware supply company and cry when I watch dog rescue videos. I don't scream, cheat, or disappear for hours. I refill the Brita pitcher and fluff the couch pillows before she comes home, but apparently none of that earns Tuesday cuddles anymore. Finally, she emerged from the bathroom wearing her sage green robe, avoiding eye contact entirely. I held out her drink. "Ginger lime, extra cold. You said you like it when it's—" She walked past me without a glance. "Thursday isn't a contact day," she muttered. "You're off schedule." I stood there, blinking, as though I were a missed delivery notification. That's when I walked straight to my laptop. I didn't even sit down. My hands trembled as I typed with an empty heart. I opened our shared banking app and transferred the joint checking funds into my personal savings. Then I froze the account, removing her name from the Amazon Prime family plan. Yes, even that. I drafted my own document, calling it Financial Boundaries Effective Immediately. Bullet points, timestamps, disclaimers. Her copy was waiting in her inbox before she finished brushing her teeth. When she read it, she didn't speak for a full minute. Then came the sarcastic laugh. "Is this some kind of revenge?" she asked, arms folded, voice sharp. I shrugged. "Balance? Isn't that what we're doing now?" She slammed the fridge hard, muttering something about immature reactions, then stormed into the bedroom, not to cry, but to text. And I swear I caught a glimpse of the name at the top of her screen. Clay. The same Clay who posts about earned vulnerability and sacred self-prioritization. The same Clay who once sent her a voice memo ending with, "You're more radiant every week." Dee, I never thought I'd say this, but that was the moment I began suspecting that energy boundaries had a body and a smirk. She didn't speak to me for 2 days. Not an exaggerated silence, not passive-aggressive sulking, just nothing. She moved through the house as if I were a coworker she couldn't stand. Occasionally she'd drop something, a fork, a spoon, just loud enough to make her irritation known, or slam the bathroom door so hard it rattled the picture frame in the hallway. But words? None. On the 3rd day, I found her standing at the kitchen counter, staring at her phone. She didn't notice me at first. Leaning against the doorway, I watched her expression shift. Not anger, but something closer to nervousness. When she realized I was there, she tilted the screen away quickly. That small gesture set off alarms in my chest. "Everything okay?" I asked. She blinked, smiled too quickly, and said, "Yeah, Clay just sent a quote about emotional anchoring. You wouldn't get it." She was right. I didn't want to. But what I really wanted to know was why her hands trembled as she locked her screen. Later that night, while she was in the shower, her iPad buzzed. I shouldn't have looked, but I did. I wish I could say I found something clear-cut, a confession, a photo. But what I found was worse. A group chat labeled Energy Alignment Circle, filled with messages from women, and one man named Clay, her coach. Except the messages didn't feel like coaching. They felt like flirtation wrapped in spiritual jargon. Clay, you're glowing again today. D, that robe photo, wow. Brenna, it's that green one I told you about. Play, save that energy for our next session. I want to go deeper this time, real deep. My hands went numb. My throat burned, not with anger, but with humiliation. I was being outshined by a man who charged $150 an hour to tell people things like, honor your radiance. And she was responding. That night, I didn't confront her. I couldn't. Instead, I lay in bed beside her, wondering how long I'd been replaced by emojis and affirmations. She kissed my shoulder once before falling asleep, the first time she'd touched me in over a week. I didn't respond. It felt fake, rehearsed, like part of some new schedule I hadn't earned yet. But I wasn't about to play by her rules anymore, so the next morning I made a list, not of ways to win her back, but of questions. I was done guessing. Question 1. What exactly happens during these private coaching sessions when I'm not home? I called the coaching center the next day. I hadn't planned to. I just stared at the number on their website for hours, chewing the same piece of gum until it dissolved into paste. The receptionist sounded overly cheerful, almost unnaturally so for someone working at a place that seemed to specialize in dismantling relationships under the guise of self-discovery. I asked if I could confirm a session for my wife. Sure, she said. What name? I gave Brenna's full name and held my breath. She confirmed 3 upcoming sessions, 1 on Zoom, 2 in person. Then, without me even asking, she added, would you like to pay now, or will Brenna continue using Clay's partner discount? Partner discount. The words hit me like a punch to the gut. I couldn't breathe. I didn't ask what partner meant. My imagination filled in everything I didn't want to hear. After hanging up, I found myself in the laundry room, sitting for half an hour while staring at the blinking light on the dryer. It felt like it held some kind of answer, but none came. When Brenna walked through the door that evening, she radiated a strange glow, something artificial, like someone carrying a secret they believe makes them untouchable. She kissed me on the cheek, something she hadn't done in weeks, and said, "Thank you for giving me space. Clay says it's helping me find myself again." I nodded, feeling hollow, my heart racing as if it were trying to escape. My mouth tasted metallic, but I forced a smile anyway. Then she handed me a book, not as a gift, but as an assignment. Clay wanted both of us to read it before next month. If we're aligned, we could move to the next phase. Was this a relationship now, or some kind of self-help seminar? The title mocked me. Earned Love, Removing Entitlement from Affection. Instead of screaming, which is what I wanted to do, I smiled, took the book, and retreated to the garage. Murphy, our dog, greeted me there. At least his affection didn't come with conditions. But something unexpected happened while I was out there. A notification popped up on Brenna's iPad, which I'd accidentally left in the garage the day before while looking for a charger. The message was from Clay. Short and chilling. Delete the last voicemail. He can't hear that one. Sleep eluded me that night. Those words replayed in my mind like a siren I couldn't ignore. Delete the last voicemail. He can't hear that one. Curiosity gnawed at me, cruel and relentless. Silence felt worse than knowing. So I crept back into the garage, plugged in my earbuds, and opened the Voice Memos app. There it was, an unlabeled 2-minute recording. I pressed play. At first, there was only static and uneven breathing. Then Clay's voice emerged, softer than usual. "Dee, I know you're scared he's going to catch on, but you're not doing anything wrong. This is your freedom. He'll adjust or he won't. Just remember, you owe him nothing. Not your guilt, not your clarity. If he loved you, he'd already be gone." My chest tightened. And then her voice joined in, Brenna laughing softly, conspiratorially. "I just wish I could tell him it was never about us, that it stopped being about us the moment I realized I had options." Her use of the word options hit like a punch, like I was a fallback plan, a life vest she no longer needed. She never once said my name. I was reduced to a pronoun, he, as though I were some burden too polite to discard outright. I didn't cry. I almost wished I had. Crying might have been easier. Instead, a strange calm settled over me, the eerie stillness before a storm. I deleted the voicemail, not to protect her, but because I couldn't bear to listen to her voice again. The next morning, she acted as though nothing had happened. She made a smoothie, asked how I slept, and complimented my shirt. I nodded silently, playing along. Inside, chaos roared, but outwardly, I remained still. That night, I sent an email to Clay. I didn't issue threats. I didn't resort to foul language. All I said was, "You told her she had options, so do I." I didn't anticipate a response, but the reply I received the following day left me sick to my stomach. His message contained just one sentence. "You should probably check the hotel receipts from her birthday weekend." In that moment, the gravity of the situation hit me like a freight train. This wasn't some harmless fantasy or fleeting emotional flirtation. It was tangible, physical, and damningly real. And I now had proof waiting for me. I didn't confront Brenna about the hotel. Instead, I waited until she announced another one of her clarity walks, which lately lasted 2 hours and required an elaborate routine involving makeup and perfume. As soon as she left, I retrieved the folder where we stored shared account statements. I hadn't touched it in months, mostly because I trusted her to handle our finances. How naive I'd been. It didn't take long to find what I was looking for, a neatly labeled envelope marked "Birthday Weekend, Sedona." I opened it, expecting mundane expenses like spa treatments or restaurant tabs. What I found instead made my blood run cold. 2 nights at a boutique resort booked under one room with a king-sized bed. Breakfast charges for 2 mornings. A spa appointment scheduled for 2 people under the name D. Wren. That wasn't her name, nor was it mine. It belonged to him, Clay. The realization felt like swallowing shards of glass. My hands trembled as I sifted through the remaining documents and discovered a printed itinerary. She had highlighted their dinner reservation at 7 p.m. at a place called Emberstown. I remembered that evening vividly. She claimed the resort had no cell reception and insisted it would be a personal retreat, no distractions. Meanwhile, I stayed home feeding the dog while she dined on caramelized shrimp pasta with her so-called spiritual soulmate. The sound of the garage door startled me back to reality. Panicked, I shoved everything back into the folder and bolted upstairs, feeling like a guilty teenager caught snooping. Not because I'd done anything wrong, but because I suddenly felt diminished, as though I were the kind of person others lied to because they knew I wouldn't fight back. She entered the house humming softly, blissfully unaware. The urge to scream clawed at my throat, but instead I managed a calm tone. "How was your walk?" She smiled serenely. "Refreshing. Clay says movement helps unstick the soul." Unstick the soul. I clenched my jaw so tightly it clicked audibly. That night, I avoided our bed entirely, opting for the couch instead. She didn't question my decision. No blanket was offered, no goodnight kiss given. Perhaps she assumed I was simply recalibrating emotionally, but I wasn't resetting anything. I was unraveling everything. By morning, I had made a decision. Using a prepaid card, I booked a virtual consultation with Clay under a fake identity. I created a profile under the name Julian and paid his exorbitant fee without hesitation. When Brenna asked about my plans, I lied smoothly, claiming I had a late work call. She barely acknowledged me, engrossed in journaling something about release and elevation. The night before the session, sleep eluded me. So did food. My body thrummed with anxiety, fueled by stale coffee and mounting dread. As the session began, I braced myself for what I might encounter. Would he be smug, pretentious, some bearded guru with a gong echoing in the background? Whatever awaited me, I knew it wouldn't ease the storm brewing inside. What I saw was far worse. He appeared normal, polished, warm eyes, soft voice, perfect lighting. His greeting hit me like a practiced ritual. "Hi, Julian. I'm so glad you chose to show up for yourself." My skin crawled at his words, but I played along. I told him about my struggles with a wife who had grown distant. He leaned in, adopting the posture of a therapist. "She might be finding herself," he said. "Sometimes love isn't about holding on. It's about letting go of old roles." Roles, huh? Like being a husband? I asked about boundaries, about how he navigates emotional overlap with clients. He smiled, his tone smooth as silk. "Transparency is everything. You hold space, guide, but never exploit." I wanted to laugh in his face. Instead, I said, "What if the client's husband found hotel receipts? What if he heard a voicemail?" For a split second, his smile faltered and his eyes twitched. Then he adjusted his headset. "I think we're getting off topic," he said cautiously. "No," I replied, my voice cracking. "I think we're finally on it." He stared at me, then exhaled slowly. "Listen," he said carefully, "whatever you think you've uncovered, don't weaponize it. That's the old paradigm. She's growing. She didn't mean to hurt you. She just outgrew you. Outgrew me, as if I were an outdated accessory from her past, something she could discard without a second thought." I ended the call before I said something irreversible, but the damage was done. Clay had confirmed everything. Not outright, but enough. Enough for me to understand that whatever growth Brenna pursued, it no longer included me. Yet I still didn't confront her, not yet, because later that night something else happened. Murphy barked at the door. I glanced out the window and saw Brenna stepping out of Clay's car. She didn't notice me watching, and that mattered. From behind the curtain in the upstairs hallway, I caught her expression in the driveway. She was smiling, a genuine, unguarded smile, unlike the polite one she gave me during dinner. Her hair was tousled, and as she exited the car, her hand lingered briefly on Clay's shoulder. She laughed at something he said before the door closed. She didn't see me, but I saw enough. When she came inside, I was already in the kitchen, pretending to scroll through emails. She dropped her keys into the bowl and kissed the top of my head absent-mindedly, as though I were some loyal pet rather than her husband. "Long meeting?" I asked casually. She paused, startled. Traffic was bad. Traffic at 9:40 p.m. from a meeting she hadn't mentioned? I nodded, swallowing my anger like bitter medicine, and said, "Hope it was productive." She smiled faintly. It was exactly what I needed. That night, she forgot to lock her phone. She never did that. Once her breathing steadied in sleep, I crept over and took it from the nightstand, feeling like an intruder in my own home. There were no texts from Clay, nothing overtly suspicious. She was too careful for that now. But buried deep in her photo archive, hidden behind filtered brunch selfies and gym progress shots, was a folder labeled Energy Work. I clicked on it. 6 photos, all recent. 2 were selfies of her with Clay, shirtless, sweaty, standing next to an outdoor sauna. The 3rd was worse, a close-up of their hands, fingers intertwined, his thumb brushing hers. The others were too intimate to describe without cringing from embarrassment. Not explicit, but deeply personal. The kind of photos people take when they feel safe. I didn't cry. I couldn't even muster sadness anymore. Just this sharp, hollow ache behind my ribs. I placed her phone back where I found it, crawled into bed, and whispered into the dark, "You erased me." By morning, I knew what I had to do. No confrontation, no dramatic speeches, just clarity and a plan. I didn't leave immediately. That morning, I made her coffee just as I always did, but left a printed photo next to the cup, one of the ones from the folder she thought was hidden. No note, no explanation, just silence. She didn't say a word when she saw it. Her face went pale, like someone watching a slow-motion car crash they caused. Then I said it. "I know." She looked up, mouth open, but no sound came out. I didn't wait for excuses. I didn't want to hear about chakras or growth or whatever buzzword she'd been hiding behind. I walked to the living room, grabbed my bag, and called Murphy to follow me. He wagged his tail like it was just another walk, but we never came back. For a while, I stayed at a friend's guest house. It was quiet, smelled of fresh paint and new furniture, but I slept better those first 2 nights than I had in months. Ceilings that didn't carry the weight of lies felt lighter. I walked Murphy without looking over my shoulder. One day, sitting on a cheap patio chair with my laptop, I opened a blank document. I titled it, "Touch is Not a Reward." It wasn't a manifesto. It was everything I'd bottled up about the spreadsheets, the silence, the gaslighting disguised as self-improvement. I posted it anonymously online. I didn't expect anything, but people read it. They responded. Some laughed, some cried, some said, "I thought I was the only one." For the first time in months, I felt something I hadn't felt in forever: connection. Weeks later, Brenna sent a long email, not begging, not angry, just full of regret. She admitted she'd confused structure for healing, said she hadn't realized she was rewriting the rules of a game I never agreed to play. She ended with, "I'm sorry I made love conditional." I didn't respond because for the first time I was setting my own terms. And guess what? Those terms don't include earning basic decency. I'm not angry anymore. I'm free. That's the end of my story. If you've ever had to walk away from someone who turned love into a contract, I want to hear your story too. What part of my journey hit you hardest? The spreadsheet, the voicemail, or the final silence? Wherever you are, I hope you find freedom. Not the kind others give you, but the kind you claim for yourself. Until we meet again in the following chapter, take care and keep moving forward. Every step you take brings new opportunities and experiences. Keep embracing growth, learning from the past, and building meaningful connections. Your journey is unique, and each moment shapes who you are becoming. Stay resilient, stay open, and trust in your ability to navigate whatever comes next. Here's to new beginnings and fresh starts. See you soon.